Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have the new Colourpop Bambi collection, so I thought I would do some swatches and comparisons as usual, and I also had time to do 3 looks, so I'm going to do a look with each one of these palettes. That's going to be towards the very end of the video, so if you want to see that, make sure that you stay tuned to the very end. So let's go ahead and jump in and talk about what is in this collection. So the first thing we have is this big powder. This is called Morning Light Pixie Puff Highlighter, and it says add a magical touch of morning light to complete your forest look. So when you open up the top, you have this big powder puff inside, and it's basically just like a bronzy highlighting powder. So let's go ahead and swatch it, and I'll show you guys what this looks like. So it does have quite a bit of micro glitter in there, and it's just a very fine loose powder with kind of a bronzy golden color to it. It's actually pretty sheer, I think, as far as the color goes. Putting it in a swatch makes it look really concentrated, but when you actually apply it to your skin with a puff, you don't really see much color. You see mainly the little glitter particles, so it's not really like a traditional pressed powder highlight. Next up, we have the Oh Dear Faux Mink False Lashes. And here's a closer look at those. I don't have any lash glue in my house, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to try these out, but they look really, really pretty. They're very fluttery and long, and I think these are gorgeous. Next up, we have the Life in the Woods Cream Gel Pencil Trio. And we have 3 different shades. We have Meadow, and the second one is Raindrops, and then we have Purdy. So let's go ahead and swatch these. So first up we have Okay, so that just broke. Let me sharpen it. Hold on one second. All right, let's try this again. First we have Meadow, and this is like a really pale, kind of butter yellow color. And then next we have Raindrops. And this is a beautiful, kind of shimmery mauve. That is gorgeous. And the last one is Purdy. And this is such a pretty purple. So this one is a matte. The only one that has shimmer to it is the middle one. And if you haven't tried their cream gel eyeliners yet, I think you'd really love them. They're really long lasting. They're super creamy. They're easy to draw on your waterline if you like to do that. And like I said, they just last all day on me. They don't smudge everywhere. So I really enjoy these a lot. Next up, we have the Twitter Pated Luxe Gloss Trio. And we have Thumper, Bambi, and Flower. So we have a gloss that coordinates with each one of the 3 palettes. And here's a look at Thumper. So this is mainly clear. It's like a pale pink, but it really doesn't show up. I just see a little bit of sparkle. And then next we have Bambi. This one is a pretty pale nude, but again, very, very sheer. And then we have Thumper, which looks purple in the tube, but again is pretty much clear with maybe just a little hint of purple shimmer in there. And the Luxe Glosses have a really nice formula. I love how thick and cushiony they are. They feel really hydrating on your lips as well. But if you're looking for something with a lot of color, these are definitely not going to be it. You'll see me try them on with each palette at the end of the video, and they really don't show up as a color on my lips at all. So now let's take a look at the palettes. There's 3 different versions, and they come in really slim cardboard packaging. And inside you do have a mirror in these. And then this particular one is a purple color story. It's so beautiful. And you have 2 shimmer shades, 2 mattes, and then this one is a matte with the micro glitter. So here's a look at some swatches, and this one is absolutely stunning. I am really, really loving this. I thought everything swatched beautifully. They're really, really pigmented. I think the shimmer shades don't have a lot of fallout to them. They're not crumbly. They're very smooth. They picked up easily. Same thing with the mattes as well. I thought they were just very smooth overall. Next up, we have Thumper, my favorite. And on the inside, this one is way more cool toned. You have some beautiful mauves and lavender. You also have this pop of green shimmer in here as well. And this one is laid out just like the Flower palette. You have 2 shimmer shades, 2 matte shades, and then the matte base with the micro glitter. And then here's what this one looks like swatched out. It actually isn't quite as pink as I thought it was going to be. This shade in particular looked kind of pinkish in the pan, but it's more of a taupe. And this one looked a bit more purple in the pan than it does swatched. It's kind of more of like a purple gray. And also in this gray shade, the micro glitter is multicolored. It's really, really pretty. So overall, I am loving the cool tones of this one. And then last but not least, we have the Bambi palette. And this one has warm tone neutrals. In this palette, you only have one shimmer shade, you have 3 mattes, and then 1 matte with the micro glitter. And here are the swatches of this one. Again, I had no issues swatching any of these shades. They were all really, really smooth. And also, since I've already done the 3 looks, I can tell you that I didn't struggle with any of the shades in any of the palettes. I think they all performed beautifully. Okay, so now let's get into some comparisons, and we'll start out with the Bambi palette. So the first one I thought of was the Night Owl palette that came out a while ago at Ulta. These both have those deeper warm tone neutrals in them, and I think they look really, really close when you look at them side by side. And then when they're swatched out, I also think they are really close. The biggest differences I see are this gold being more of a copper in the Night Owl palette, and this one is a bit more of an ivory, while this one is a light tan. But I think these 3 shades would look almost identical on the eyes, and overall they really have the same vibe. The next comparison is with the California Love palette. This one also has those really warm tone neutrals going on, so I had a feeling this one was going to be really close. And it definitely is really close. Again, the gold isn't exactly the same. It's way more yellow in the Bambi palette. Again, this first shade too, I wasn't able to match. But other than that, I think the other 3 shades would look exactly the same on your eyes. Next up, we have the Anna palette from the Frozen 2 collection. And even though this one does have some purples in it as well, it also has those warm neutrals plus the gold shade. And this one does have a few similar shades. I think the gold is probably closest in this one than it has been in any of the other palettes, but this shade is not the same. I think this one is really close, and then these last 2 really don't match up either. So I feel like just the gold and this one are the closest matches in this palette. Next up we have Nude Mood. And I know this one doesn't have a yellow in it, but I thought some of the other shades might be really similar. And as it turns out, I do think there's a lot of similarities between these palettes. I think the biggest difference is that gold shade, because in Nude Mood you have a bronze. The rest of them would probably look pretty similar once you get them on your eyes. And then last but not least, we have the Bare Necessities palette. And whenever I have a neutral palette to compare, I always pull out Bare Necessities just because it's so big, and most of the time I can find a lot of dupes just with this one palette. But with this one, I actually did not find any exact shade for shade dupes. There's a few that come really close. This one, this one. This one's pretty close, but I think it's definitely more orange in the Bambi palette. And this one, really, I don't know, these 2 aren't as close either. So while I think you can get a similar vibe from the Bare Necessities palette, I would not call this one a dupe. Next up, we have the Flower palette, and first I'm going to compare it to It's My Pleasure. Both of these are all purple palettes, so I thought these looked really close to each other looking at them side by side. And swatched out, there are definitely some similarities, especially with the 3 middle shades. I think those are probably the closest. It's My Pleasure doesn't have a white shade, and also it doesn't have this really deep matte shade either. This is about as deep as it gets in that palette, so it has a similar vibe, but not an exact dupe. This one also had a lot of the same purple shades in it, so let's take a look at some swatches. But as it turns out, as close as these look in the pan, when you actually match up each shade, they're really not any exact dupes. They're very similar again, and this one, again, has the purple vibe, but it's not an exact match. All right, and then last but not least, we have some comparisons with the Thumper palette. So first we're going to take a look at That's Taupe. Now at a glance, these 2 look very different, again, because the Thumper palette looks very pink, but they don't swatch that way. So I was thinking that That's Taupe might actually be a little bit closer than we think. It doesn't have the green, but the shade in the bottom row in the center is kind of like a grayish green. So let's take a quick look and see how these match up. All right, guys, so yeah, these are actually pretty close. These 2 shades right here are very similar. Again, the greens I knew were not going to match up. This shade is very close. This one, even though the one in That's Taupe is darker, it is like a really pretty rosy kind of a shade like this one. It has the pink in it. So, I mean, not exact dupes, but I think if you have that taupe, you do have some similar cool tones in your collection already. Next, let's take a look at Thumper next to Off Melrose. And Off Melrose does have that same kind of cool toned vibe. It has the green in there and dusty, kind of rosy shades. But again, I'm not sure quite how these are going to swatch next to these since they don't really come out that rosy in a swatch. So let's take a look. All right, so at a glance, these swatches do look really similar. If you look a little bit more closely though, there's no exact matches. This one is more of a brown while this one's a gray. Then here, this one's a shimmer shade, this one's a matte. They were just the closest colors that I could find. The greens don't exactly match up. The one in Off Melrose is much more yellow. And then here, again, this one does swatch a little bit pinker. This one swatches more like a taupe, even though they look very similar in the pan. And then this one is a bit more pink, and this one is definitely lighter. So not exactly the same, but again, if you're going for that vibe, then if you have Off Melrose, then you're probably good. All right, and then the last comparison I have is with Stone Cold Fox. And like with Bare Necessities, I think this one can dupe so many palettes just because it has a ton of shades, and this one is definitely more on the cool tone side. So I thought I could match up some shades in the Thumper palette. And again, we do have a lot of similarity between these two. The one that is the most different is definitely the green. Again, that's been really tough to match up in any of the other palettes. But this one is kind of more of a grayish green. It has a little hint of green to it. And then the rest of them, I think they're close. They might look really similar on the eyes, but they're not exact shade for shade dupes either. And just because I know I might get questions on these, I'm not going to swatch them because you'll see how different they are. But the She's Got Solstice palette, I did think of this one because it has the green. And the greens might actually be really, really similar in these. But if you look at She's Got Solstice, it is so warm compared to the Thumper palette that I think the green is really the only shade that would actually match up between these two. So I really didn't consider this one as a dupe. And also the Wild Nothing palette. This one too has the green shade, but that's pretty much where the similarities end. I think this shade actually might be similar as well, but just those two. I couldn't really find anything else that would really line up because these two are more purple, and then you have this kind of purpley pink here, and there's nothing like that in the Wild Nothing palette. The shimmer shades are more peachy and gold, so I just wanted to show you guys this close up as well. All right, guys, so anyway, that's a quick look at the new Bambi collection from Colourpop. It's going to be launching on February 25th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, so that's tomorrow if you're watching this on the day that I post it. And if I had to choose my favorites from this collection, I would definitely say the palettes. I think these are really nice as far as the formula goes. There's no pressed glitters. Everything is so smooth and easy to work with. I love the color stories and I love how small and compact they are. I just think they're really, really cute. I do love this formula of eyeliner, but if you have to get them in the kit like this, I'm thinking I probably would not use the yellow shade. So that one would be kind of a waste for me, unless you can buy them singly. I do think this one is beautiful with the shimmer, and also this purpley one was gorgeous as well. Also, I'm not a big false lash person, so I would not purchase these if I were purchasing this collection, but I think that this style looks really beautiful and fluttery, so if you like false lashes, it might be something to check out. And then when it comes to the powder, this also probably isn't something that I would use on a regular basis just because it's really just like putting micro glitter on your face, and it's not really a look that I'm into necessarily. I like more of a subtle highlight with a little bit of a sheen, but if you do like glitter, this is adorable. I love the packaging and the big puff that comes inside. I think it's so cute. And then last but not least, we have the Luxe Gloss Trio. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't buy these if I were purchasing this collection just because they don't show up as any type of color on your lips at all. So for me, these were kind of a waste. I do love the Luxe Gloss formula. I just wish that these had a little bit more pigment to them so that they could look different from each other on the lips. And I really don't think that they did that much. So anyway, guys, stay tuned for the 3 looks that I did. I did one with each palette, and those are just set to music. I'm not talking. So I'm going to say goodbye here, and thank you so much for hanging out with me today and spending time on my channel. As always, I appreciate it so much. And if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet and you like palette comparisons especially and makeup reviews, don't forget to hit the subscribe button right here in the corner of your screen. Thank you all so much, and I will see you in my next video. Take care, guys. Bye.